A working class hero is something to be.
Skin's gonna pick up everything.
My skin?
Yeah, it's rubbing on your skin.
It's because he's got a huge chest.
I couldn't get him out.
You have to buy me a drink first. Hello, welcome Working Class Heroes. My name is Jacob Giorgi, owner of House to Home Moving and Storage. And today we're going to talk about marketing and sales. I have with me Tiffany Dube, and thank you for joining us today, by the way.
You got it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I work in insurance doing marketing and sales. Kind of like you said, I've been doing it for 5 years now.
Nice, nice. How'd you get into it?
Actually, kind of a weird story. I went to UC Davis. I majored in animal science. I wanted to work in ag. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I did all that stuff, got my BS, worked in the ag industry for a while until I realized how broke I was all the time. Right? So I kind of stumbled into marketing and sales and haven't looked back.
Nice. Did you find that it was a problem going from what you were doing to marketing and actually having to talk to people and everything? How did you get to that?
Absolutely, that was hard. When I went to college, I basically was with animals 24/7, and I guess you can't really practice life conversations with animals. Right? But
I don't know if they're going to talk back.
No, they don't tell you. You have to figure out what's wrong with them. But for me, I went to... so where did I go? So I went, how did I get into marketing and sales? How did I get good at it? Is that what the question was?
Okay, because for me, when I first talked to someone, when I first got into marketing and I was like, okay, I have to go out and talk to someone, I remember walking in and I'm like, I couldn't even say my name.
Oh gosh.
How did you, were you like that to that point, and then how did you get over that?
Yeah. You know what? That's a really good point. So that was about 5 years ago, and I hate remembering it because it was a horrible time. The learning curve was kind of a B. I don't want to swear on camera, but I remember.
Bitch, is what she's trying to say.
So I remember when I walked, my old boss at the time, he told me to go hit this strip of businesses because I do business-to-business benefits, and I pulled up, and I remember sitting there, and the hardest door for me to open was my car door. Right? So not like the business's doors, but I couldn't even open my car door. I was paralyzed with fear. I ended up going home that day because I was like, I'm just this little white girl. Can I say that? Oh my God. So I'm just this little, I started when I was 23, right? So I was just this little bitty white girl, and I'm about to go into these businesses to talk to like older male chauvinistic business owners. I was really scared. So I went home and I really did perfect my craft. The industry we were in, they gave us a lot of training materials and I guess you could say scripts to memorize. And the scripts got me probably through the first month until I realized that they were no fun. Right? So you kind of you memorize, but then you kind of make it your own, and then you integrate your own personality into it and all that kind of stuff.
Until finally you just already know what you're doing,
right,
and you just make it your own.
Right. But it takes a lot of practice. I used to practice in the mirror all the time. I would stand there. My husband at the time, I guess, went to work, and I would stand there in the mirror practice, or I would talk to my dog. I know that's weird.
That's not weird.
But I would totally talk to my dog because I had no one to practice with because all my friends moved away after college. So it was just me in the mirror, and then going out and doing it in the field.
Yeah, that's hardcore. A lot of people don't realize, they think that everyone's like, I can't be a salesperson because I'm an introvert and I can't talk to people. But most people that are in sales and marketing started off introverts. Yeah. And it's just the more you do it, like everything, the more you get better and you get.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that I still am an introvert because I talk to so many people all day. At nighttime, I'm so tired. I'm like a weird, creepy, quiet person at nighttime. But yeah, no, I still am, I guess, secretly an introvert, just not during the day.
Right. Well, you have to be an extrovert.
Right.
For your business. So you said you do business to business. What's the hardest part of it? Do you? I did business to business also. And do you go to a certain area and just saturate the area?
That's how I started because I didn't know anyone. So I did. I lived in Dixon at the time, so I basically hit every single door in Dixon until I realized I couldn't anymore, and then started working on referrals. I feel like once you do a good job for people, it's very easy to ask for referrals if you know you did a good job. So after that, I started building my business mostly on referrals and networking and all those kinds of things.
Asking for it. Because if you don't ask, they're not going to give it to you.
Right. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to to sales or marketing in general, if you don't do it, the answer is going to be no anyway, right? So you might as well try. The chances of you getting a yes are at least 50% versus 100% no. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. If you're not out there, then what are you getting?
Okay.
Nothing. That makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
It was hard for me. For you, I mean, I'd find myself, especially when I started, sometimes I find myself doing it later on, even where you park in your car and you're like, I've already gone. I've already been shot down like 20 times.
Right.
Do I really want to go into this door
Right.
and get shot down again? But you do because it might be the one. It might be the one that goes with you.
Right. You know what? I did this thing in the beginning, and I don't remember who told me to do it, but it was hard to hit doors, cold doors in the beginning. So I told myself that if I could get 25 no's, that I earned like an ice cream or a treat. Does that make sense? So it almost made getting the no's exciting, because then once you got your last one, then you're able to kind of reward yourself. So it kind of forced me to get out there because I love ice cream, and that was like my thing.
You know what? That's amazing.
Is that weird?
No, it's not weird. Quit saying that.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm weird.
No. You know what?
Okay.
It's awesome because a lot of people, the no's kill them. I'm sure you've heard other salespeople or people that stand in front of people in the audience and they say, love the no's, but that's a way. Thinking outside the box,
right?
Of getting to like the no's,
right? Well, I always think about this too. I was raised very independently. I always got a lot of no's from like my family and my dad and my mom and all that kind of stuff. So I was I guess you could say I was used to getting the no's, but I don't like the idea of letting someone else's no dictate like my future and my life. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So like I would keep continually hitting doors, and even when I got those no's, I'd come back oftentimes, unless they threatened to kick me out or like arrest me, which only happened a couple times. Only twice. 2 times threatened to be arrested. But yeah, so I don't like the idea of letting someone who I don't even know affect my life that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And why would you? When you first start off, you think that. You think, what are they going to think of me?
They're judging me.
They're judging me. Until you do it long enough and you go, you know what? These are just people.
Like, and then a lot of the times
too,
and
just talk to them.
What if they're having the worst day of their life? What if their husband or wife told them they want to get divorced that day? Maybe their dog died? Good Lord, you know what I mean? So we all have bad days. Maybe you just caught them on a bad day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. They're not your customer.
Right.
Just move along and your customers are going to come.
Right.
Just stay busy. Okay, what do you think about the no soliciting, no, I love that because I ignore them. I totally ignore them, just so everyone knows.
Right.
Ignore them. What about you? What do you do?
The no soliciting signs are funny. I can't say gosh, sorry. So okay, just believe it. Okay. So in some of our more saturated areas like Roseville, there's signs that say no soliciting, especially people. And I always plow into those doors.
Yes.
Always. Which are funny. The no soliciting signs, when you go in, I would say most times 50%. The receptionist, since they have that sign, they're not actually used to even taking solicitors, so they're normally pretty nice for the most part. And then the other half of the time, they're devils. Right?
Did you read the sign?
Did you read the sign? And I always say, my response is, absolutely. I actually have one of those signs on my door also because I can't stand solicitors or salespeople, but that's not what I'm here for.
See, I just say, yeah, I saw it.
So what? Awkward
I
silence?
saw the sign, but if I didn't walk in here and offer you this that you don't have, then how would you get a better product?
Right.
The sign's like contradicting what you want.
Yeah, those no soliciting signs make me sad.
I wouldn't mind having one more of these.
We already got you.
Oh, they know you so well.
Is there anything else you guys?
Just a water?
Just a water?
Yeah, a chick water. Thank you.
Hold the ice. Before we came on, you had mentioned that you had a tough job before working with animals. Well, first, tell us a little bit about that. Just a little bit about that because I think it's super interesting. I love it.
Okay.
But did that strengthen you up to? Did that help in your transition?
It did. That's an interesting observation. Thanks for noticing, actually. I used to work in ag, and I was a horse midwife, so I pulled out baby horses for a living. And then I used to do horse reproduction also when I went to UC Davis. And then after I came out of college, I didn't even realize when you work in agriculture, all of us these days complain about a 40-hour work week, but in ag, it's 10 hours a day, 6 days a week is full time, and you get 1 day off. Right? So I worked 60 hours a week for 2 years. I worked more than that because I had 2 jobs. So coming here when I had to work 30 hours a week and get paid 3 times as much, I literally just wanted to chill for most of the day because I'd worked so hard that this job seemed easy.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an easier transition that way.
That's perfect
for me.
And you know, it's in sales and marketing, the more time you put in, the more you get. Do you know what your hit versus close ratio is? Like how many businesses do you have to go to on average in order to get a sale?
So these days, marketing has kind of changed a little bit. I don't think the days of cold door-to-door marketing are going to live for very long. I think because salespeople have such a bad name about them now. They're kind of, everybody thinks that salespeople are basically like used car salesmen. You know what I mean?
Greasy.
Yeah. So I don't think I think that the wave of the future I do think is actually networking, but if I were to hit cold doors, I think my ratio, just to be cold and conservative, 10 doors, 1 appointment.
Okay.
Yeah?
How many appointments to a close?
Gosh, it depends. I would say 3 out of 5.
That's really good. Okay.
I practice a lot. I do.
But let's think about that for a second. You hit. I mean, that's really good close ratio.
Well, thanks.
On a door-to-door? I'm not that good.
Well, my sale's a little different. My sale doesn't actually cost them money. You know what I mean?
Right. I know you.
So that's how it's a little bit different.
Yeah, but you still end up making money on the product. I mean, but you'll go to the place and you'll talk to everybody and you'll get them all covered.
Right.
No,
So that's where my sale comes, is from the employee side, not so much the employer side.
I got you.
So that's why it would be easier, but I do practice a lot. I always prepare for my meetings. I do a lot of research on the business before I go in. So I actually,
oh my God,
I do prepare.
Okay, hold on. Can I stop you right there?
Sure.
Because no one does that.
I know.
Okay, so before you go into the business, you already have researched, looked at their website and all that? I mean, how in depth do you go?
I went into one business where I talked to him and I asked him about his Korean wife. So I'm half Korean, right? And I said that all of his kids look like me, and he just like wanted to do business immediately. Like he thought I was creepy and awesome at the same time. So I go pretty deep. I look for as much as I can. I go to the Facebooks, I go to the Instagram, LinkedIn, as much as I can find that way.
When you're talking to business owners, you know, the general rule of thumb when you're in marketing and to keep them as clients is to try to get them to talk about them.
Right, 100%.
Do you improvise? I mean, do you
that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
That's 100% exactly what I do. I ask them about their business, what they need help with, what their benefits look like, and how we can help with them, not just me spewing product on them. I don't even talk about product.
Okay, see what you did there? You already know. But you're asking for, you're leading them right to it by asking questions.
Right.
You've qualified them. You're asking them about their business. Can you do this? Are you happy with this? You know, would you be interested in this? All the way up until I would be.
Yeah, pretty much. But
and I love that.
I think a good 75% of the conversation is me asking questions and them answering. So they talk most of the time till the end, I guess.
So what do you do on follow-up? How do you retain your clients? Okay, you get them. You go in there. They love everything you have to offer. The employees take advantage. You leave. How do you stay in contact with them and keep them as a client?
I do for most of my, so like I said, business to business, I work with accounts or businesses, obviously. And I usually do quarterly drops. So I always have little routes that I take where I stop in. I usually bring something nice, or if they have a candy jar, I refill their candy jar or whatever to check in, make sure nobody has claims, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm very service oriented because I remember the whole reason why I got into insurance was because I got hurt really, really bad 5 years ago and didn't have enough. And then I remember what it was like to suffer through that financially, emotionally, physically, all that stuff. So when it comes to my clients having claims, I remember what it was like. So I go over the top, above and beyond. I go to people's houses. I've gone to the hospital to get signatures. So I do try to go above and beyond because nobody else does.
Right.
And I like people to think that I care because I do, you know. So
that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Where does all your business come from now?
It's all referrals. So I've been doing this long enough. I will do a little four-corner marketing. If I get a new referral, I'll kind of hit anywhere from 5 to 10 doors in the area. But it's all referrals. It's networking groups, chamber events. I'm a huge. This is gonna sound weird. I'm a huge stalker online, right? So if I have a business owner who I'm pretty good friends with, I basically look at all of his friends who are business owners and I walk into those businesses. I don't even ask for referrals.
No, okay. And then
I don't even ask for referrals.
Okay, so I gotta say, so when you walk into the business, do you drop name?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, I walk in and I'm like, God, I've seen you before. Oh my, are you friends with Jacob? Oh my God, I work with Jacob. He's like the coolest guy ever. Anyway, I'm here for this. I'm super salesy.
Oh my
I probably
God.
shouldn't have said that.
No, pay attention to this, everybody. This is marketing 101.
Oh God.
Okay, so you know what you taught me?
Right.
Okay, the other day when we were talking, networking groups, real quick. We're part of a networking group.
We are.
And we're in it together. It's a cool networking group. And the tips go around, right? Everyone knows what it is now.
Referral
the
sheets.
Referral sheets. The referral sheets go all around the room.
Right.
Okay, so she's the one, Tiffany is the one that told me she gets her business from the referral sheets going around for other people. So if she sees that they're a business owner or a...
Like it says, hey, new business needs workers' comp insurance. I'm like, oh, that has my name written all over it. I take a picture of it and I go in like a week.
That's so awesome.
So that would be a tip. I guess if you're in a networking group that you feel like you're not getting a lot out of, pay attention to the referrals that are going by, and if you can work with those people, just snap a picture of it. You don't have to make it obvious, you know what I mean? But just take a picture of it and see if it doesn't work for you that way.
Sure, I'm totally stoked. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
I do, yeah.
Okay, what advice would you give people that are starting a marketing or sales position? What advice would you give them knowing that they're green going in?
It's kind of tough advice. The one thing we always say that you can't teach people is work ethic, right? That's the hardest one. That has to do with how you were raised, how much you want in life, what you're looking for, what you want to get out of life, and all those kinds of things. But work ethic, I think, when you start a sales and marketing position, whether or not it's your own business or you're working for a company, you really have to think of, pretend like you're starting your own business. I would say pretend like you invested $1 million in that business and you have a lot to lose. So you better hustle, right? If you ever find yourself sitting around in the middle of the day not knowing what to do, find something to flip and do.
Right.
Whether it's practicing your script, practicing objections, going on YouTube and finding different objections. YouTube you can get anything on. Type a weird objection and you can get a lot of responses from a lot of people telling you a different answer you can use. Practice your trade. Don't ever find yourself sitting around twiddling your thumbs. You know what I mean? Do stalking online.
Because you're not making any money.
Because you're not making money. So you need to hustle, right? It's work ethic, and that's, I don't know. You can't teach that. I know it's kind of crappy advice. But
Well, no, it's not that. You know what? You can't teach that. You're right. Because you could teach it, and they don't have any work ethic. They're not going to pay attention to what you taught, and they're not going to do it. And the whole point about sales and marketing is to stay in front of everyone as much as possible every day. No excuses. Well, and that's how you make your money.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of sad now too because we talk about the new entitled generation. You know what I mean?
I think that's every generation. I don't think it's new.
Really?
I think.
You know what? I'm not that old, so I wouldn't know.
I watch clips on old school black and white movies, and they're talking about the same stuff that's going on right now.
Really?
Nothing's changed. I think that the population is just bigger.
Yeah.
And those people are just more.
Yeah, maybe more vocal about it or something.
Maybe, yeah. But then again, I look at this newer generation, and I'm stoked. I'm excited.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
They're techie. Oh. They're going to change the world. We're going to do random questions.
Okay.
You ready for this?
No.
What's the rudest thing someone has said to you going door to door?
The worst door-to-door experience I ever had was at a dentist office in Vacaville. And it was on the 3rd floor of a building, and I was on crutches and their elevator wasn't working. So I hobbled my way all the way up to the top, and she yelled at me, told me she hated salespeople. She said that I needed to get a real job and that what I was doing was dishonest, right? And then I asked her a few questions. She asked me to get her a product brochure. So I went all the way down the stairs, grabbed it, came all the way back up, and then she started yelling at me that it wasn't the right one. This is like my 3rd day. So then I went all the way back down the stairs on crutches. This took me like 5 minutes up and down because I can only do one stair at a time. All the way back up, and she looked at it, she said my product was a pile of like crap to never come back, and if I came back, she'd call the police. And then I got in my car and I cried for like 2 hours. And then I remember at the end of that night, I went and I told myself I was going to quit my job, that I needed to get a real job. And then I called one of my friends at work, and she talked me out of it. She said, I remember, she goes, you can't let someone that horrible on the inside dictate what you want in life.
Right.
She goes, how are you going to let, if you let that person quit, like make you quit, and you don't move forward in your life, you just changed the entire course of your life because of one person who sucked.
Right.
And you can't let that happen.
It was garbage.
Yeah. So that was probably the worst thing. And then the other time was I was also on crutches, and he threatened to arrest me, and I was like, well, how are they going to take me down the stairs like on crutches with handcuffs? And he just lost it. He just lost it. He started screaming. He turned super red. He almost started crying, and then I just kind of hobbled out of there slowly.
You said you had a second question. Pet peeves?
Pet peeves?
Yeah.
What
pisses you off?
What are my pet peeves? Oh gosh. I don't really like it when people say long story short. That's one of my random pet peeves.
Long story long?
Long story short, I don't like it. I don't like the words awesome sauce either. And then I also don't like laziness.
Thank you for joining Working Class Heroes. Again, my name is Jacob. We have Tiffany Dube on. Tiffany, would you like to say anything else to everybody before we end?
Yeah, I guess last thing would be for anyone looking for an opportunity that they're willing to work for. I guess if you've been in a job for a while, you're not going anywhere, and you're willing to work for something more, get something more out of life. I'm always interested in looking for people like that. I like looking for people with work ethic, kind of like I said. So if you think you're willing to work, I'd love to talk to you.
Awesome. And again, that's a sales and marketing position, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Her information will be at the bottom of the screen. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us at Working Class Heroes. Thank you, Tiffany. And we'll see you guys next week.
Oops. Oops.
Nice. What's your favorite curse word?
Obviously, I think my first word as a child was the F word. Honestly. Good story. I got expelled from elementary school in 2nd grade for swearing.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.